فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلنا التوراة فيها هدى ونور ويحكم بها النبيون الذين أسلموا للذين هادوا والربانيون والأحبار بما استحفظوا من كتاب الله وكانوا عليه شهداء فلا تخشوا الناس واخشوني ولا تشتروا بآياتي ثمنا قليلا ومن لم يحكم بما أنزل الله فأولئك هم الكافرون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد Awaited Savior of humanity, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, my respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, congratulations to you all as we are celebrating the birth anniversary of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad.
And our congratulations goes out to the master of our age, the awaited savior of humanity, Imam al-Mahdi, Ajalallahu ta'ala Faraj Sharif. How does the Quran speak about the qualities of the leadership that is required to lead the entire Muslim Ummah? And how do we see those reflected in the qualities of Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi? And if we wish to be able to express that leadership, express those qualities from the Quran and those ahadith which are 100% agreed upon by all schools of thought, how can we do so in a systemic way? I might need to turn down the... What are the qualities of leading the Muslim Ummah from the Quran? How do we prove that in a way which allows us to be able to engage in the dialogue, looking at the qualities of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam? Many of us will know many of the prominent verses when it comes to the leadership of Imam alayhi salam. However, it may be that when it comes to certain other verses, we're less accustomed to them, because they are not spoken about often, or when we read the Quran in a way which lets us skip over certain verses. I brought a verse which I wish to be able to present to you from Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter number 5 of the Holy Quran. Who knows when Surah Al-Ma'idah was revealed? When was Surah Al-Ma'idah revealed? In which year? Surah Al-Ma'idah was revealed in the weeks running up to the death of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It would have been in the last year of his life. It was over the period of the last Hajj, and then the cessation of revelation came of Surah Al-Ma'idah. So in the last few weeks, in the Prophet's illness in the city of Medina, this chapter has already been revealed and concluded. Our Mufassirin therefore tell us that when we read Surah Al-Ma'idah, we have to read every verse, every single verse of Surah Al-Ma'idah in terms of the completion of the message of Islam. It's an outgoing message, not a beginning message. Meaning that when you wish to be able to understand, A, the challenges that were prevalent in the Muslim community in the last 1 year, the last 6 months of the Muslim community, you read Surah Al-Ma'idah. When you wish to be able to understand the parting messages of the Prophet, of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu to the Muslim community, in that last 1 year, last 6 months, up until, say, 6 weeks before the death of the Prophet, you read Surah Al-Ma'idah. This gives us some context. What I wish to be able to do is present to you a verse which looks at the qualities of leadership as expected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also for us to think logically about why we needed Ali ibn Abi Talib after the Holy Prophet of Islam, and also to raise the question in regards to the birth of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Why did the Holy Prophet of Islam require the birth of Ali ibn Abi Talib to be the type of birth that he had, which was unique in the history of humanity, which was to be born inside the Kaaba itself? I wish to be able to present an argument, first and foremost, by one of the great scholars of our era, by the name of Ayatollah Sheikh Fadil al-Safar. Allah grant him a long life. On the leading mujtahideen. And he explains the leadership and the necessity of the leadership of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam in the following way. So this is a rational argument. The first thing is to remember is that the Quran, of course revealed over 23 years, speaks about the Muslim community and the pagan community and its surrounding communities like Ahlulbayt at different points in revelation. So if you imagine, if you picked up a verse that spoke about these communities very early on in the Meccan period, it might be discussing them in a different way as to how it might discuss them in the early Madina's period or later Madina's period. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions verses about what the early pagan community was like at the time of the beginning of Islam. As an example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Hijr, لَعَمْرُكَ إِنَّهُمْ لَفِي سَكْرَتِهِمْ يَعْمَمُونَ. I take an oath by your existence, Ya Rasulullah, by your life, لَعَمْرُكَ إِنَّهُمْ لَفِي سَكْرَتِهِمْ يَعْمَمُونَ. Most surely these people are wandering blindly in their intoxications. Elsewhere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He found them on a pit full of fire. Allah saved them from that. These were descriptions of the pagans and Ahlul Kitab and the beginning of revelation. After the Prophet comes and spends several months with these same communities and behavior begins to change, their thought processes, their practices begin to change, elsewhere in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals another verse praising those converts to Islam, praising the society that Islam had built. Allah says in the Quran, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ. You are the best of people that have ever been heralded for mankind. If that's the case, you can see Allah is taking them from here to here. Logically, if the Muslim Ummah has brought humanity to its pedestal, it needs a leader who is at that level to continue on the pedestal of humanity and not to allow it to drop below that rank again. Otherwise, what is the point of Islam? If Islam takes you to here, and then in terms of its leadership, it drops you back down to here. So there's two logical arguments that are brought off the back of this, before we introduce this verse to you, that we can reflect on, that are mentioned by Ayatollah Sheikh Fadil al-Safar. He says the following, number one, very interesting. He says, of course, the cream of humanity is who? The prophets, Anbiya and Mursaleen. He says, if you look, this is a very philosophical discussion, very deep philosophical discussion. He says, if you look, the prophets of humanity are distinguished in certain ways, right? Humanity has produced giants, right? Be it Einstein or, Noam Chomsky, whatever it is, Aristotle, Plato. Humanity has produced giants. Those who are totally distinguished from amongst them are the prophets and the Anbiya. So at one level we have to distinguish the prophets from the rest of humanity. He then says, despite their being distinguished from the rest of humanity, the prophets and the Mursaleen, they themselves have commonalities amongst themselves. So they're distinguished at one level, but despite their distinguishment, they are having commonalities. What are those commonalities? Allah says in the Quran, "La nufarriqu bayna ahadin min rusul." We do not distinguish them in this sense. How do we distinguish them? They are all the perfection of the manifestation of the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are all the perfection of the manifestation of the akhlaq that is expected from a prophet, from their knowledge, and so on and so forth. They are distinguished, yet they have commonalities amongst themselves. Sheikh Safar continues. He says, yes, they are distinguished. At the same time, in their distinguishment, they are having commonalities. But even within their commonalities as Anbiya and Mursaleen, they are distinguished. Musa alayhi salam is distinguished from Isa alayhi salam, who is distinguished from Rasulullah. So for example, if you have Musa alayhi salam, although he's distinguished from humanity, he has commonalities amongst prophethood, he is distinguished in other ways. How is he distinguished? For example, his story is unique, and you can see the way in which he is distinguished is in his response to Fir'aun, which is not replicated elsewhere amongst the Anbiya and Mursaleen. Isa alayhi salam is distinguished from Musa alayhi salam in the types of miracles that he brought, in the types of statements that he brings. He is distinguished in his spirituality from Musa alayhi salam. Similarly, the miracle of Rasulullah is distinguished from Musa and Isa, salamullahi alayhim ajma'in. But Rasulullah took a community which at its most decadent, which was at its worst, and brought it to its peak and fall. No other prophet has done that in the history of humanity. Ayatollah Safar says, look at this. The prophets are distinguished. In their distinguishment, they have commonalities. In their commonalities, they are distinguished. If you're going to have a leader which is going to lead Islam after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that individual needs to bring together all of the qualities of those previous 3 points. He needs to be distinguished far above the rest of humanity. Yet he needs to have commonalities with all the prophets in their features. Yet he needs to be distinguished in his own way, and that person after the Prophet could only be Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And he explained this as an introduction. He then goes further to explain a key point, which is an important rational argument. The difference, of course, and this isn't a debate, this is not a slide, this is understanding the perspective of our theology. The difference between Imamate and Khilafat is very simple. Khilafat allows us to be able to choose our own leadership. Which means that if I choose, it is potential that I could choose the very best. It is also potential that I can choose the very worst. Khilafat allows me to choose Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, but the same potentiality allows me to also potentially choose Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, as we had. Potentially allows me to choose anything between those two in the spectrum. One day I can choose this, one day I can choose that. One day I can choose Ali ibn Abi Talib, the next day I can choose Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. And all of them have the potentiality as legitimate, as leader of the Muslim Ummah as anyone else. Why? Because the choice is mine and yours. Imamate differs. Imamate says even a prophet of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu cannot choose his wasi, cannot choose his Khalifa, cannot choose who to come after him. Only Allah Jalla Jalaluhu chooses. Now Islam, as a holistic religion, covers every single aspect of life and every single field of life in all of its depth. Is there one element of Islam that Islam does not cover? Theology, law, ethics are the normal considerations of Sharia. When it comes to politics, if it was to come to globalization, if it comes to quantum mechanics, when it comes to evolution, is there anything that Islam does not consider and cover? No. The Quran is holistic, Islam is holistic. Therefore, its leader needs to be as holistic as Islam is, as holistic as the Quran is, which we will come to in a minute in regards to this verse. Remember, this is a rational argument. What would happen if you put me in charge of the Muslim Ummah? Other than all the khums I would steal, and all the first-class flights I would take. But think about this question carefully. This is a philosophical, a rational argument. What would happen if you put me, as an example, in charge of the entire Muslim Ummah? I have 1 billion shortcomings and more. My knowledge is limited. My understanding is limited. If Islam is holistic and covers every single field to the nth degree, and I become the leader of that ummah, I will fall short in the majority of areas of leading the Muslim ummah. As a result, Islam and its interpretation becomes nothing more than what I am. If you came and asked me a question about the depth of ethics, if you came and asked me a question about politics, if you came and asked me a question about quantum computing, my knowledge or lack thereof would mean to whatever extent I am deficient, my explanation in leadership of Islam would be as deficient. So if there is 100% in its leadership and I can only replicate 5%, I can only ever provide to you 5% of the level of depth and perfection of Islam, which means there's a deficiency of 95% in all those potentials. Therefore, the opposite must be true, that for Islam and its perfection, its holistic nature, it requires someone as perfect in every scope, in every field, to be in accordance with the level of the perfection of Islam and the level of perfection of the Quran itself. Without that, Islam becomes as limited as I am. The Islam I wish to portray to the world outside can only be as limited as I am. I shudder to tell you my age, but it's 35 years old. I am the sum total of the books I have read, the lectures I have listened to, the tadabbur I have performed, which is minuscule. Great, we've read 1 book, 3 books, and what? If I then become the leader of the entire Muslim Ummah, the Ummah becomes as deficient as I am. Which is why you can only ever have a leader of the Muslim Ummah which is in accordance with the means of Islam, the perfection of Islam, and nothing less than that. Have a look at this verse. Now we come to the crux of the discourse, and we read from a verse. As I said, many of us, we will know the traditional ayat in order to discuss the qualities of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. I wish to be able to give you a different verse for you and I to be able to be introduced to and ponder upon. This verse, as I stated, from Al-Ma'idah, is revealed in the last weeks of the life of the Prophet, and speaks about the responsibilities of the leaders of the Muslim Ummah. It actually refers to the qualities and responsibilities of the leaders in the previous Ummah, and particularly the Jewish community. And of course, the reason why Allah tells us this is because it's an outgoing message upon the death of the Prophet. If you understand how the Sharia has always been, you'll understand how the Sharia will always be going forward. Have a look at the verse, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna anzalna al-Tawrata fiha hudan wa nur. Surely we revealed the Torah in which was guidance and a light. This is important. The Quran has in it two main qualities here. The Torah, of course, as you know, the Quran is also hudan wa nur. What's the difference between huda and nur? Who can tell me? What's a really simplistic way? Are they the same? No. The fact that Allah uses two different words, they are two different things. It's like me saying to you, you know you have to get from A to B. And you can get there with a map. But at times you also need to realize that traffic will build up, a road will be closed, and you need to know how to navigate the problems in front of you. The Quran is huda, it is a map, but it is also nur. It also gives you the means to navigate the challenges in front of you. Inna anzalna al-Tawrata fiha hudan wa nur yahkamu biha an-nabiyyun. The prophets judged by it. Of course, this is speaking about the Torah, but of course it's also speaking about the Quran. الَّذِينَ أَسْلَمُوا لِلَّذِينَ هَادُوا. With it, the prophets who submitted themselves to Allah, they judged matters for whom? The Jews, by the Quran. The Quran, the Torah, and of course in our context, the Quran, which is Hudan wa Nur. Now, who also judges by the Torah? Who else judges by the Quran? وَالرَّبَّانِيُّونَ, those godly, saintly figures. وَالْأَحْبَارِ, and the scholars. What qualities should the prophets, should the Rabbaniyun and the Ahbar have according to the Quran? أولا, number one, بِمَا اسْتُحْفِظُوا مِنْ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. They should be people who have mastered from the book of Allah. Mastered the book of Allah. It's not just memorization. It's not saying you're hafaz. The moment you become half of the Quran, you're brilliant, you can give fatwa. Those prophets, those Rabbaniyun wal Ahbar, what are they? بِمَا اسْتُحْفِظُوا مِنْ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. Number one. Number two, وَكَانُوا عَلَيْهِ شُهَدَاءَ. And they were witnesses upon people. You remember the Quran in several occasions tells us that the Prophet was shaheedan ala nas. He was amongst the shuhada upon nas. We don't mean shuhada here, martyrs. The Mufassirin say the word shaheed in this context means qa'id, leader over mankind. As we said, Islam is so wide, it requires you to have the qualities of Islam in its fullness to be a leader over mankind. Number two, وَكَانُوا عَلَيْهِ شُهَدَاءَ فَلَا تَخْشَوُا النَّاسِ. Number three, you don't fear people. What do you fear? وَخْشَوْنِي وَلَا تَشْتَرُوا بِآيَاتِ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. And the fourth quality, you never sell the ayat of Allah for a paltry price. You can never be bought by a single penny in exchange for what Allah has given to you. These are four qualities of divine leadership. Allah states was the level of leadership at the time of the Torah, and in the outgoing message of Surah Al-Ma'idah, this is also the four qualities that are expected upon anyone who takes leadership in the Muslim Ummah going forward. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ. This part of the verse refers to you and I. Now that Allah has set about four qualities of leadership that are clear to you, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ, if you do not judge by what Allah has set about for you, or He has revealed for you, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. That's an outcome. Now here, I just wish to be able to ponder upon one or two points of this verse. In particular, to reflect upon the qualities of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Think about why we needed him as the Imam Ma'soom after the Prophet. And the evidences of that. And then just to think lastly about his birth and to recite one fadila of the Imam and his birth. Just take this first quality as an example. Those were the prophets, those were the Rabbaniyun, those were the Ahbar. The first quality is that they should be مَسْتُحْفِظُوا مِنْ كِتَابِ الدَّارِ. In our books, both in Sunni and in Shi'i tradition, we have two narrations which are considered to be Sahih. And these two traditions are very important in the language that is used by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. As an example, in one tradition it says, عَلِيٌّ مَعَ الْقُرْآنِ وَالْقُرْآنُ مَعَ عَلِي. عَلِيٌّ مَعَ الْحَقِّ وَالْحَقُّ مَعَ عَلِي. Ali is with the Quran is with Ali. Ali is with the truth is with Ali. This is a Sahih Hadith in all schools of thought. Now I just want to focus on one word for you and I to reflect on. The word ma'i. Ma'iyya, this withness. And how the scholars understand this particular hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aliyyun ma'a al-Quran wal-Quranu ma'a Ali. You know that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam speaks perfectly. Correct? وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. The Prophet does not speak of his own whim. It is naught but inspiration to him. When the Prophet speaks, every letter is perfect. And so if we have Sahih Hadith like this, and we can attribute it with certainty to the Prophet, then when we do tadabbur on the Hadith, we know the starting point of the Hadith. Why didn't the Prophet just say, Ali ma'al Quran? If the Prophet's words are perfect and he just said Ali ma'al Quran, that would have been sufficient, wouldn't it? But he didn't say this. He said Ali ma'al Quran wal Quranu ma'a Ali. Why? Why wouldn't it have just been sufficient for the Prophet to have said Ali is with the Quran? The ma'iyya here is very important. It's like me saying this. You might ask a question, where is Jaffer? Say, Jaffer is with the mic. I am with the mic. The problem is, the potential is, someone else could also be with the mic. It doesn't provide exclusivity. It's potential that Muntazir Jaffer is going to be with the mic as well. He could be sitting here. Ja'far is with the mic, but the potential is someone else can also be with the mic. But the moment you say Ja'far is with the mic and the mic is with Ja'far, it creates a degree of exclusivity. There is togetherness, and it's both sides of the coin, that they belong with each other. There's no potential now to say someone else is with the mic. The mic is with you. This creation of exclusivity means that nobody else could potentially be associated to the Quran the same way Ali ibn Abi Talib was associated to the Quran. Ali ma'al Quran wal Quran ma'a Ali. Ali ma'al haqq wal haqqu ma'a Ali. These two things are given exclusivity with Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Now the Quran itself tells us the extent by which it has details of it. The Quran says it is tafseelun li kulli shay several times in the Quran. Quran says, مَا فَرَّطْنَا فِي الْكِتَابِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. We have not neglected anything, any knowledge, any science from this book. If the Quran is holistic in its entirety of the knowledge, and Ali is with the Quran, and the Quran is exclusively with Ali ibn Abi Talib, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that those who are the Nabiyyun, wal-Rabbaniyun, and the Ahbar, their first quality is bima istuhfidhu min kitabillah. It doesn't say it in a paltry sense. It means that those people have the quality of exclusivity of understanding the entirety of the divine book. Without as such, you cannot be considered to be amongst those responsible for leadership of the entire Muslim Ummah. This is his quality. I'll give you one last example. فَلَا تَخْشَوُ النَّاسَ وَخْشَوْنِي. And fear not people, but fear only me, Allah says. To give you a fadila of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, one of the ahadith mentioned, one of the early ahadith mentions in the compilation. Our fifth Imam, Muhammad al-Baqir, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, narrates the following hadith. He said, one day, my father was coming out of his house, and the sun after Fajr had risen. My father, Zaynul Abidin, Sayyid al-Sajidin, comes to me and says, Muhammad al-Baqir, I want something from you. Muhammad al-Baqir narrates that when I saw my father, he was in a particular state, how? His forehead had become rash from the amount of sujood he had been doing in the night. His eyes had become sunken from the amount of crying and weeping he had done before Allah in the night. His lips had become dry from the amount of adhkar he had been doing before Allah in the night. And in this state, he comes to me and says, Muhammad al-Baqir, bring me the books, the parchments of Ali ibn Abi Talib, so I can recite the ad'iyah that Ali ibn Abi Talib used to recite. Muhammad al-Baqir goes and brings this parchment, presents it to Zayn al-Abidin, the adornment of the worshippers of Allah. The hadith says, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam narrates, he says, my father opened those parchments, began to read. His body began to shake and he stopped. And he said, who can perform the worship of Ali ibn Abi Talib other than Ali ibn Abi Talib? Salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. Without this individual, without Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, this religion of ours does not have the beauty within it. It does not have the longevity within it. It does not have the perfection within it. It doesn't have the ability and the depth to be able to explain it. This is why we need Ali ibn Abi Talib. One of our scholars, Nahyan, he released a wonderful statement in regards to the birth of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he asked a question. He said, fine, we now understand why we need Ali ibn Abi Talib. Without him, we don't have someone to continue on with those qualities, to be able to genuinely lead the Muslim Ummah in its perfection, in all of its depth. Fine. But why did the Prophet need Ali ibn Abi Talib? That's a tough one. And he says, the birth of Ali ibn Abi Talib is surely the most profound, unique birth in the history of humanity. No one before was able to be born inside the house of God, and no one after will ever be able to be born inside the house of God. Surely, if this is the height and the unique of the fadila, why wasn't this fadila given to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Think about that. Why wasn't the Prophet given that fadila to be born inside the Kaaba? Why only Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam to be born inside the Kaaba? Allah responds in the commentary, and he says simply this: for Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam to be born inside the Kaaba is Allah's testimony on Ali ibn Abi Talib as his purity, as to his rank in his eyes. When Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam begins to speak on behalf of the Prophet, call people towards the Prophet, lead on behalf of the Prophet, if you have that man testifying to your nubuwwah and Allah has testified to your purity, this was Allah's way to ensure the best human testimony for the Prophet was given to him, because it was a testimony by Allah upon Ali, and therefore Ali's testimony was the perfect one on behalf of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. For you and I, when we come to celebrate the birth anniversary of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, it becomes this. It becomes a testimony from Allah for you and I, that none can be in place of this rank before and after. And why we need such a human being, such an individual in our life, is because only this kind of individual could meet the ranks of this verse. Only this sort of individual could provide us the depths of the Quran, provide us the depths of haqq. And it is for this reason we gather today to celebrate his birth anniversary. And so, the purpose of telling you this, the purpose of reflecting on this particular ayah, was to allow us to imagine why the importance of Ali ibn Abi Talib alone in our lives, and why we need to continue this celebration, and how much we are in need of this grand individual. Please raise your hand, let's join each other in dua. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the appearance of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, to allow us to be alongside him at all times in our life and in our death. If we are to pass away from this world before his coming, raise us from our graves so that we can partake in the victories of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Ya Allah, we have come together to celebrate the birth of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Grant us his ziyarah fi dunya wal akhirah. Allow us to have our graves illuminated by the presence of Ali ibn Abi Talib, inshaAllah. And we ask that we are melted away in the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib for the rest of our life, to understand his position for our own selves, inshaAllah. Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In honor of Ali ibn Abi Talib, if you could please recite one loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala